You open your phone just to check the time. 10 minutes later, you're 3 headlines deep into global conflict, scrolling with your thumb like it has a mind of its own. Another alert, another breaking update, another expert thread explaining why everything might get worse before it gets worse. And somewhere in the back of your mind, there's a small voice saying, "Why am I doing this? This is making me feel terrible." Yet you keep scrolling. If this feels familiar, you're not weak. You're not uninformed, and you're definitely not addicted to negativity because you like drama. What's happening is much older than your phone, much deeper than the news cycle. Your brain is doing exactly what it evolved to do. Let me show you why global tension turns your mind into a bad news magnet. Think about the last time the world felt relatively calm. News was still there, but it faded into the background. You checked it occasionally. It didn't hook you. Now, contrast that with moments of global tension, rising conflicts, political instability, threats that feel big, abstract, and out of your control. Suddenly, your attention locks in. You refresh feeds. You read long threads. You watch analysis videos you didn't even know you wanted. The common assumption is that people obsess over bad news because they're anxious or pessimistic. But psychologically, that's not quite right. Your brain isn't chasing fear. It's chasing certainty. Humans are prediction machines. Your nervous system is constantly asking one question: am I safe? And what should I do next? In calm times, that question is easy to answer. In uncertain times, it becomes urgent. Global tension creates uncertainty at scale. Not just, will I be okay today, but what kind of world am I living in right now? And when uncertainty spikes, your brain switches modes. Neuroscientists call this the threat monitoring system. It's the same system that helped early humans survive predators, rival tribes, and sudden environmental changes. When danger felt possible, attention narrowed. Distractions dropped away. Every rustle mattered. Back then, ignoring threat cues could get you killed. Today, ignoring threat cues feels irresponsible. So when headlines start talking about international conflict, escalation, retaliation, your brain treats your phone like a lookout tower. Each update feels like it might contain something crucial, something that helps you orient yourself. That's why bad news doesn't just grab attention. It holds it. There's also something called negativity bias. Your brain gives more weight to negative information than positive information. Not because it's broken, but because negative information has historically been more useful for survival. Missing a threat was costlier than missing good news. A calm headline doesn't demand action. A threatening one does. Now, layer in the modern news environment. Your ancestors got threat updates occasionally. You get them in real time, optimized for engagement, delivered through a device designed to keep you scrolling. Your brain never evolved for this. Every notification feels like a tap on the shoulder saying, "Hey, pay attention, this could matter." And your nervous system doesn't know the difference between useful vigilance and endless exposure. So you scroll, not because you want to feel worse, but because part of your mind believes that staying informed equals staying safe. Here's where it gets sneaky. Doom scrolling often feels productive in the moment. You tell yourself you're being responsible, educated, aware, but emotionally, you're paying a price. That's because your brain can't resolve global threats the way it resolves personal ones. You can't take action. You can't fix it. You can't close the loop. And open loops are catnip for the mind. Psychologists talk about something called the Zeigarnik effect. It's the tendency for unfinished tasks or unresolved situations to stick in your memory more than completed ones. Global tension is the ultimate unfinished story. No clear ending, no personal resolution, so your brain keeps checking for updates, hoping for closure. Another layer here is identity. When tensions rise between countries or ideologies, narratives become simplified. Us versus them. Right versus wrong, safe versus dangerous. Your brain likes these clean categories because they reduce cognitive load. Complexity is exhausting when you're already stressed. Consuming news during these times isn't just about information, it's about orienting yourself socially. Where do I stand? Who are my people? What am I supposed to think? That's why comment sections, threads, and opinion pieces suddenly feel magnetic. You're not just reading facts, you're absorbing emotional cues from the group. And here's the part most people don't realize. Bad news doesn't just trigger fear, it also triggers dopamine, not the happy kind, the seeking kind. Dopamine isn't about pleasure. It's about motivation. It's what makes you lean forward, click again, refresh once more. When something feels important but unresolved, dopamine keeps you engaged. Global tension is the perfect storm for this system. High stakes, uncertainty, constant updates, no clear resolution. Your brain says, just one more check, maybe this time I'll understand it. Now let's pause for a second. If you're listening to this and thinking, oh wow, that explains a lot about my scrolling habits. This is exactly the kind of thing we unpack here. We look at how your brain reacts to the world, why it does what it does, and how to work with it instead of fighting it. If that sounds like your kind of content, go ahead and subscribe. It helps the channel grow, and it helps you keep making sense of your own reactions in a noisy world. Now back to the story. There's also an emotional paradox at play. When the world feels unstable, consuming bad news can feel grounding. Even though it increases anxiety, it also creates a sense of connection. You're not alone in noticing this. Everyone's talking about it. There's a shared emotional reality. That shared attention can feel comforting even when the content itself is disturbing. This is why people often check news more during crises than during calm periods. It's a way of synchronizing nervous systems, of saying, I see it too. I'm aware. I'm here. The problem is that constant exposure keeps your stress response activated. Cortisol stays elevated. Your body stays braced. And over time, that state becomes exhausting. You might notice it as irritability, mental fog, a sense of dread that doesn't have a clear source, trouble focusing on ordinary tasks. Your brain is tired from standing guard. Here's the twist, though. Your urge to consume bad news isn't a personal flaw. It's a sign that your brain cares about context, about preparedness, about understanding the world you're in. The challenge isn't to shame yourself out of it. The challenge is to give your brain what it's actually looking for. And what it's looking for isn't more headlines. It's a sense of agency and closure. One way to shift this pattern is to change how you engage, not whether you engage. Instead of endless passive consumption, limit exposure to intentional check-ins. Decide when you'll update yourself rather than letting updates decide for you. Your brain likes structure. When you give it boundaries, it relaxes. Another shift is to balance threat information with grounding information, not positive vibes only, but reminders of scale and proportion. The world has always contained tension. Humans have always navigated uncertainty. Your nervous system needs context, not constant alarms. And perhaps the most important reframe is this: being informed does not require being immersed. You don't have to carry the emotional weight of the world to care about it. If you notice yourself scrolling late at night, heart rate slightly elevated, ask yourself gently, what am I actually hoping to get from this right now? Often the answer isn't information, it's reassurance. And reassurance rarely comes from breaking news. As we wrap up, here's the perspective shift I want you to keep. Your brain's attraction to bad news during global tension is a survival strategy running in an environment it wasn't designed for. It's not weakness, it's vigilance without an off switch. Learning to work with that system to give it clarity, boundaries, and moments of rest is part of modern psychological resilience. So I'm curious, when global news ramps up, what do you notice in your own habits? More scrolling, more checking, or more avoidance? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more pop psychology like this, the kind that explains why your mind reacts the way it does to the world around it, make sure you're subscribed. We'll keep exploring these patterns together, one headline at a time.